Well, hello everybody. It's Dr. Carmen Bryant, and this is Car Chronicles. You guys ready? You ready to do this? Well, I'm ready. Let's do this. So allow me to say this. I was thinking about this as a therapist. I'm in the state of Washington, and as a therapist, I actually studied. My degree is in marriage and family therapy. However, throughout my years of experience, I've decided, most therapists decide what their specialty is going to be. And I have decided that, my interest lies in usually working with individuals instead of couples and children and families. I did have that experience, though. Once I finished school, once I retired from the military, I had the experience, and my first job consisted of working with families that were in or coming out of the Department of Child Services or Child Protective Services or foster care systems, or pending being taken or being put back in. And so I worked with a lot of families, children, couples, as a provider. And I found that's not my interest. However, what I did find, though, working with children, and, because you're also dealing with the court systems, and that's something, a lot of things that you see in the court system and a lot of things you see within social services will really turn you off once you see what goes on behind closed doors. Is not what you think it is, so keep your children out of social services, and you have to parent, just put it that way. Because some of the things I've seen in the courtrooms and some of the things that I have seen with social workers and some narcissist social workers is not something you want to expose yourself to. So parents, your responsibility is to raise those kids, even if it's hard to raise those kids. However, these are some gaps that I saw, and it's just very heartbreaking. As you know, narcissistic personality disorders normally are not diagnosed until about the age of 18, 19 years old, young adults, because that's normally when the personality has kind of rooted and has become, the pattern has become kind of a permanent pattern. You'll notice the pattern has become kind of permanent. But as children are growing up, a lot of you know that they have those narcissistic traits. Most children are very selfish. It's all about me. They lack empathy. And so, it's the parent's responsibility to teach children, empathy. You teach children empathy. What does it feel like if you do that to somebody else? What does it feel like when people do that to you, or if somebody was to do that to you? Our responsibility as parents is to teach our children empathy, but watching, nowadays you're reading more and more, or you're seeing more and more where children are younger and younger, and you can see, this antisocial personality disorder. You can see narcissistic personality disorder, yet you can't diagnose them, but you see the lack of empathy. And they're young, between young to adolescents to teenagers. And you're beginning to see, and they're younger, they're unaliving their families or people, and the cruelty on animals, or the pleasure of watching people hurt or being tormented. They're getting pleasure out of that. And it's younger and younger where these children are being, sent to prison. They're going to court for unaliving people, and the cruelty behind what they're doing. And that there is a shift from a normal developmental stage, to a, this is not normal. Now, some parents will turn the blind eye because they cannot believe that their child could be that cruel, or their child. Then there are some parents that are recognizing, this child has no sense of remorse. They have no regrets. They have no empathy. And you can see the pleasure in harming animals or to hurt their own parents. They get pleasure out of watching someone hurt or tormented. And this is at a young age. Parents, that's not normal. That is not a part of normal development. Now, and I always say you want to interject while they are young to get them help. But what I'm finding is that no matter how much a parent is willing to interject and try to get their children help at a young age, because they can see something is not normal, where they're not just in school starting fights, starting fires, tormenting classmates, purposely hurting people, doing things, and they have it's almost like a consistent pattern. There's a consistent pattern. There's with little kids, they fluctuate between the different symptomologies or the different traits. They fluctuate between those different traits. But as a younger age now, where you're starting to notice that there's a consistency in certain traits that they have, and there's a cruelty, a brutality behind it. They purposely find your pets or children that they think that you love. And it's not even that you may love the other child more, but the fact that you are giving attention to another child or an animal, and they focus their attention on that, and they go after that, and they get pleasure at seeing you hurt, seeing you angry. They're looking for your reactions. Y'all, that is abnormal. That is not normal. And the sad part about it is that, as we're taught in the graduate level, you can't diagnose kids. Those that specialize in children. I didn't specialize in children. I worked with them, but not to a point where it was the abnormal psychology or the diagnosis part of it. I was working more with the family and the children and helping them to parent. But for those that are in the, in child and it's almost, you have to spend a lot of money to find a good psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, that understands abnormal psychology at that age. And it's almost hard to find, and you have parents that are trying to interject services to help break that pattern or help to reroute that child, before they get to the age of like Jeffrey Dahmer's and John Wayne Gacy's and Ted Bundy's and the Green River Killers. By then, then they are a threat to themselves and to society, and they have already committed crimes now, and then they go back to research history to see what went wrong and where. And as adults, they're telling you certain things that they were doing as kids that, that therapists missed, that law enforcement missed. And I'm starting to notice, which is really grieving me, is that you have parents out here that are desperate to help their children, and they recognize, and some have said, I can see the traits, I see what can be or what can happen. And if nothing happens or no one helps to interject or try to assist them, I can see where their future is going to go. And some of them, like, they'll end up on the first 48 hours, or someone is going to at the hands of my kid, and they're trying to do something. And then when things happen and that parent was desperately trying to help that child at a young age and there was nothing there, and it's almost like, it's sad because the way that the insurance companies operate is, they don't want them in, they don't want people in long term. Insurance companies are not trying to help people with personality disorders unless they're institutionalized, and even trying to, the parents are afraid of the child because the child is violent, threatening to kill, and have stated they're going to kill. Okay, I don't know if that was appropriate to put out there. Or unalive, they're threatening to unalive family or unalive, they're threatening. And, the parents are trying to get help. They're talking to police, law enforcement. They're talking to mental health professionals. And it's, they feel hopeless because no one can help. And some people don't want to get involved. But by the time they get involved, they're in the prison systems and they're working with the mental health in the prison systems. And insurance companies, don't want to do long-term, therapy for especially kids or adults that have personality disorders. Personality disorders are permanent. They're not going to change. You can teach them as much as you want to, but they're permanent. They're not going to change. And really what you're doing is teaching them how to live or to operate or to be hidden in plain sight because of picking up on language. But a lot of these parents are exasperated. Now, there are some parents, and I'm talking to those parents, not if the shoe fit, wear it, but excuse me, y'all. But, if the shoe fit, wear it. Some of you assume that, the teachers are supposed to raise your kids, or I'm just going to send them to a therapist, and the therapist is supposed to fix this situation, and you don't want to get involved. No, you have the child. You are responsible. I know that you're exasperated and you're desperate, but you are a part of the solution. You have to be involved. You have to go in there and get answers and ask questions and being there so they can teach you things on how to monitor your reactions or your responses. And how to get the help. You got to be involved as well. But I know it's hard. And that's what breaks my heart because it seems like there are no solutions. Y'all, we need help.